Hi, it's me, Brooke. I'm back with another video. This week, I'm gonna do a Taylor Swift albums as book recommendations. So for every Taylor Swift album, I'll give you a book that I think kind of represents the album as a whole. This album is Debut, and I picked The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walther. This book reminds me of Debut. It's a YA, summer romance. It's set kind of in a small town, Martha's Vineyard, but a little bit of a small town vibe. They're playing a game of assassin. It's like a whole family get together they do every single year. And the two main characters kind of become friends at first sight, and it's more of a friends to lovers kind of trope to it. The songs that remind me the most of this book specifically are Tied Together with a Smile, Our Song, and I'm Only Me When I'm With You are the songs that I think represent this book the most. A lot of the relationship, how they are together. I think it's a really fun read and really reminds me of Debut, kind of that just small town vibe to it. For Fearless, I picked The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. The whole trilogy as a whole is great for Fearless in my opinion. This is another YA kind of summer romance, little small town. This one has a love triangle. It's about Belly and her relationship between Jeremiah and Conrad. I think the songs The Way I Loved You, Forever and Always, You Belong With Me really represent kind of the stories happening in this book to me a lot. Next is Speak Now. I picked Akhimov, A Court of Mist and Fury. The whole ACOTAR series as a whole kind of reminds me of Speak Now. Speak Now feels very fantasy to me also. So this is an adult fantasy romance book. I really think Dear John makes a lot of sense for this one if you've read it. I think Speak Now is almost like perfect lyrically to match this book as well, if you know what I'm talking about, you know. Sparks Fly, I really think Sparks Fly is great for this. I Can See You, Castles Crumbling, Mine, Hours, like all the songs on here just remind me of this series and this book a lot specifically. Then we have Red. I think Magnolia Park, specifically this first book, reminds me of Red a lot. Unfortunately, All Too Well kind of reminds me of Magnolia and BJ's relationship a little bit. 22 kind of reminds me of the found family aspect we have in this book with the box set and all of that whole friend group. I also think Sad, Beautiful, Tragic is a great song to kind of represent this book as well too. This is an adult contemporary romance. It is one of my favorite books I've ever read, ever. Amazing. You should definitely read it. And I think Red kind of represents this book, specifically this first book, really well in my mind. I also think the song Red describes BJ and Magnolia really well and how she feels about their relationship and kind of how he feels about it too, I think. Next we have 1989, which is my personal favorite Taylor Swift album. For this one I picked Carrie Soto Is Back. This is a literary fiction, adult, kind of coming of age maybe a little bit novel by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I think 1989 represents this book really well. Based on kind of the romance we have, I feel like the songs match a little bit, especially with her old relationship. And I think it matches her relationship with Tennis a little bit as well, but especially Shake It Off and New Romantics. This book really dives into how women are kind of treated in sports and just treated in general in the comments they make about her, and even though she's a really strong tennis player, how she's seen as more mean and less strong and competitive and more just mean and rude for no reason. And so I think the way she takes these comments is very well done, and I think Shake It Off and Romantics kind of help her come back when she does her, her comeback. Now we have Reputation, and for this one I picked Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. This is my other favorite book in series ever. I think Reputation really represents this to me because a lot of people doubt Violet throughout this book, and I think at the beginning she was doubting herself as well, but I think just everyone kind of going against her made her turn around and be like, well, I don't want to prove anyone right, so I'm going to prove everyone wrong and show them how wrong they are and how well I can get through this whole school and pull it off and be amazing and not just pass by, but really excel in this school. And I think the romance between her and Zayden in this book as well, the romance songs on Reputation I feel like really represent them as a couple. Dancing with Her Hands Tied, Dress, Delicate, I think those fit them very well. Don't Blame Me fits very well for both of their characters as well. Now we have Lover. For this I picked Red, White, and Royal Blue. They're so madly in love with each other, and Miss Americana and the Heartbreak Prince I think fits really well. It's a little obvious, but I think it still fits really well. And London Boy I think is super cute. I think Afterglow and the message that song holds I think represents Henry really well in this book. I don't know, they're just so in love. They're just so in love. Paper Rings fits them so well too. I don't know, they're just so madly, deeply in love. And this album just fits them so perfectly. I really, really love this story. Now we have Folklore. I picked this selection, the series as a whole, but really strongly this first book for me. I haven't talked about this book yet. I read this. This was kind of what started my whole reading journey. This one really represents folklore to me. I know it's not a love triangle, but it's kind of a love triangle in a sense. There's a little bit of a love triangle going on. There's a little bit more of a just bachelor kind of sense happening as well. I think almost every song on Folklore fits this for me. I think specifically this first book, Illicit Affairs and This Is Me Trying and Mad Woman really remind me of America and her character and her kind of story throughout this first book. Next we have Evermore, and for this I picked The Naturals. Again, this kind of fits the whole series for me, not just specifically this first book. I mean, the obvious song that matches is No Body, No Crime, but this is a YA mystery romance a little bit. There's a small love triangle that happens. I really enjoyed this series, but I think Evermore fits this really well for me. Again, like I said, I think the obvious choice is No Body, No Crime, but I think Champagne Problems really fits these characters a lot for me, specifically Leah. I think I really relate her to Champagne Problems a lot. I also think Marjorie reminds me of Cassie and her mom's relationship and how she felt about her mom and everything kind of there in her family storyline. I think Tolerate It almost reminds me of her family as well too. Just the relationship she had with them, kind of almost all of them with their families, the relationships they had. Overall, I think this one really reminds me of Evermore. Fantastic read. And last but not least, we have Midnights. I think Daisy Jones and the Six fits this album very well for me. This is another kind of adult literary fiction with like a hint of romance. It's about a band and then a solo artist that come together and become one band, Daisy Jones and the Six, and their whole journey through starting off each on their own, becoming a band together, and kind of the aftermath of what happens of this band. I really enjoy this book, and I think Midnights fits so perfectly with this book. I think Maroon reminds me of Camille and Billy so much. I think Lavender Haze reminds me of Daisy Jones. You're on Your Own Kid really reminds me of Daisy Jones as well, because she's kind of always been on her own. And Midnight Rain is so like Karen and Graham to me. I always think of them. Question also feels kind of Camille and Billy, and just later in their relationship and when rumors are kind of sparking. Labyrinth feels Karen and Graham against me, but very specifically Karen and her feelings towards Graham and her just feelings about being in a relationship in a whole. I think Bejeweled is also very Daisy Jones to me. I think that song fits her super well. Overall, I think almost every song on Midnights I could connect to a character or a scene or two characters within this story. This is such a great story, and I think Midnights is the perfect album to listen to if you're going to read this. So that was today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe if you did. And if you are seeing this and you have any other videos that you would want to see, please comment them down below. I'll see you next week. Bye!